everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the Foundation First Fitness Show. Today I'm with Camille Charbonneau, expert mental coach. Today we are going to pick her brain and kind of get you guys on some good information on how to get closer to your goals. So without getting too much into it, I'm going to let Camille kind of fill in those gaps of a bit about her life.
So I'm a mental skills coach. I work with athletes, performers. I give them tools and strategies to kind of get that mental edge to get a more consistent performance. I did my phys ed degree at McGill. I later on went to do my master's at U of Ottawa in human kinetics, intervention and consultation, which most people don't know. Most people don't know what that means. It's pretty much performance psychology related to performance, specifically to sport performance. So that's what I'm doing right now. I work with the McGill Redmond rugby team. I'm their mental skills coach. I have private clients. I see all types of different athletes, fencers, ballet dancers, anything, you name it, hockey players, awesome. Soccer players. So
tell me a bit about, so Camille has a company called Peak Perform. Tell me a bit about that.
So my company, Peak Perform, I work out of my home. So I have an at-home office. I provide individual consultations. Mm-hmm. Again, specifically the mental aspect to performance. So I work with athletes and we kind of go over, what they need to do in order to, again, consistently perform. So we like to go over what's worked, what hasn't worked. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's really reflecting upon, what tools they've used before and how we can use them again moving forward. And my role is to guide them to find solutions and not, tell them what to do, because usually when we tell people what to do,
it never works out.
It never works. Yeah, they'll do it for a few days, a few weeks, but it has to be meaningful. So my job is to guide my clients to find the right tools. Why
this field? What made you want to choose this field? Why this specific topic? Because health and fitness and goal setting, everything. It's so there's so many different alleys you can take with it. So why did you take this out of it? What led you there?
I've always been interested in sports psychology, especially when I was doing my phys ed degree. And when I pursued a master's at U of Ottawa, I originally was in the sport management program. I didn't like it at all because it was too businessy for me. But I did have one performance psychology class and I loved it. And I was learning all these tools, all these mental tools that I've never learned before. I was, 26 years old, and I was wondering how come as a person, as an athlete, I've never been coached about these mental skills, about this brain training. So I was learning all these things, and I told myself, okay, sport management is not for me. So I transferred to the human kinetics stream. It was a year and a half, learned all the tools, and I really wanted to teach everyone about it because it's such an important 100%. Aspect.
Totally. Yeah, I think over the past couple of months, I've started paying a lot more attention to that kind of mental aspect and understanding the mental game, the mental side of things. So for someone out there who's listening right now, and there's so many people that struggle with this and trying to figure out what is going to keep them committed to that goal that they've set for themselves, what is that one trick, one thing that you could suggest or you can recommend that's going to help them get to what they want to do that they might be doing wrong? Like, what is that one thing that they're doing wrong that you can kind of help them out with that?
I don't think that they're necessarily doing something wrong, but I think there are some skills that most people need to develop. We tend to focus on the negative, especially when going towards a big goal. It's really about kind of overcoming challenges, increasing that mental toughness. And just to go back on goal setting, it's one thing to have this dream goal, but if you don't have an action plan, if you don't have the right resources, support network, it usually doesn't work out. And you need to develop a SMART goal plan in order to kind of write that path for you and make sure that you're successful. So
tell me a bit more about that SMART plan, because I think that's really interesting, and I know we've spoken about that at some point. But I think everyone out there it might be really valuable for them. So talk to me about that.
So SMART goals, I think if you're an athlete or a coach, you may have heard of this concept. So the S stands for specific. So just making your goal as specific as possible. M would be measurable. So how would you measure your progress or track your progress, which is really important, especially in terms of motivation. A stands for action plan. So really, making it into baby steps. So what are you doing this week, next month? And really taking a step back and seeing what you need to do to get to that bigger goal. R would be realistic, sort of reflecting upon whether it's realistic or not. T would be time bound, so putting in like a due date. For example, the Olympics in 4 years would be on
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 aspects that we tend to forget. Support network, so just thinking about who's in your support network or who else you need to add in there, what kind of resources do you need. Thinking about your past successions and, if you failed at this goal before, what do you need to do now to be successful? And then making sure it's meaningful to you, because a lot of times we tend to go towards goals because of peer pressure, because, our boyfriend or girlfriend wants us to do something or our parents want us to do something. But making sure your goal is meaningful to you will really, help you stay motivated, and you'll probably be more successful.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. You touched on something that I know is really, really, really important, and I've kind of been spending a lot of time talking about it, because I do deal with athletes too, talking about that peer pressure that, society kind of telling you that this is what you have to do and this is what you should be doing, or this is what you need to be doing. And I totally agree. It's got to be that you've got to be in that right place, in that right state of mind to go towards what you want, or else you're just going to be heading down some path and you're going to end up coming right back and having to double back when you realize that's not what you wanted to do. Just
to add to that, I think it's important to reevaluate your goals. And I mean, what you were just talking about is being passionate about something, right? And it happens when things change, and it's okay. And a lot of people are scared to reevaluate and change their goals, but 100%. It does happen, and you need to reevaluate often. So
you've probably dealt with a bunch of clients. You've had so many stories. You probably have a bunch of success stories. What is the one most rewarding thing that you experience or that you benefit from dealing with your clients? What's the one rewarding thing? Most rewarding thing.
Honestly, the most rewarding thing for me is when I get positive feedback from clients. Because as coaches or teachers, we don't always get that feedback, that breakthrough. And it could be little things. And I think that when I work with musicians specifically, who don't really talk about the mental aspect too much, well, as much as athletes, anything I give them, any little tool, they use right away, and they benefit from it so much in their practice and their training and in their performances. And just getting that little message from my clients saying, "Oh my God, that worked," or 100%. This is really helping me out. That makes my day.
So do you think that immediate feedback is huge? Immediate implementation is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And when I work with my clients, I give them homework all the time, and I follow up with them and see how it's going. And
so don't let it linger. Attack it immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool. I like that. What is the most difficult thing you deal with? What is the most difficult thing about what you do? Most challenging.
For me, the most challenging thing is wanting to help everybody, but not being able to help everybody, because everyone's different. The tools are all trial and error. I don't use a cookie cutter approach. I adapt to everyone, and I'm not going to click with all my clients, and that's okay, because not all coaches will click with their
Is that
clients.
Something you think you want to try to do? Like, I know that not everybody has not everyone can fit that same kind of, not everything clicks, but do you think that there's maybe a way that you can adjust the way you approach things, like per client, like that? Do you think that's something that can be done, or is that?
I think it comes down to a personality thing. Because, I'm sure you don't like every single person you meet.
That is totally untrue.
Anyway, I think I approach all my clients differently, and I really adapt to their needs and their personality. But especially with younger athletes, more shy ones or more outgoing ones, I don't know. I believe that not everyone clicks with a client or a coach. So I do the best I can, and so that's hard for me when I don't click. But
yeah, what should someone expect from a session with you, from working with you? What is kind of like, how does that break down? What do you start with? I mean, give us a quick rundown.
Yeah.
Keep it kind of superficial? What should they expect?
Usually, my sessions are about an hour. The first few hours are definitely trying to get to know my client and vice versa, because it's all about building relationship and trust. Because, we're talking about the mental aspect, we're talking about emotions, we're talking about feelings, and not many people are comfortable talking about that, especially with a stranger, right? So those few hours are just getting to know their story, so I understand it, so I can help them the best I can, give them the right tools. And it's also an opportunity for my client to get to know me, to get to know, okay, who am I going to be working with very closely these next few months. After that, it's about, like I mentioned earlier, reflecting upon, upon past performances, good ones, bad ones, and kind of taking, like I said, what worked, doing it again, what hasn't worked, and showing them different tools, giving them homework. There's always homework for them to do. It's brain training. It's just like physical, technical training. They
100%.
need to put in the work every single day if they want things to work.
So before we finish, where can people go to find you? Where can they get in touch with you? Where can they get in contact with you?
I'm pretty big. Pretty big. I like to use Instagram, so you can find me at cam.charb, or my Facebook page, Cam Charbonneau. I also have a website, peakperform.ca, and all my information is on the website. Or you can email me, camille.charbonneau7@gmail.com.
Awesome, thanks. I think you're motivated. I think you're dialed in. I think you're super interesting, and I think you're so passionate about what you do, and I think that's super important. So it's awesome having you here. Thank you so much for coming. For those of you out there, guys, try implementing this as soon as possible. Get it done. Start working towards your goals today. Do not push them off. And guys, until next time, keep building that foundation.